Hussein, the different Islamic forms of terrorism, but that does not scare me. What scares me is what I call the evolutionary Islam. I'm going to share a testimony. I'm sure I've shared it with this group in Tyler, and those who heard it in Tyler. It's called the Dallas Council on World Affairs. How many people remember my testimony about the Dallas Council on World Affairs? It happened just a few counties away from here. I came here for the first time as a speaker from Israel in November, December of 1990. November, December 1990 was a time called Desert Shield. How many people remember Desert Shield? It was in preparation for Desert Storm. And I came and I made certain predictions. I went back to Israel January, February, March of 1991, which was Desert Storm. And everything I said, exactly as I said it, came true. So I came back to Texas in April, and everyone said, I was a prophet. I said, no, I'm not a prophet. I'm an Israeli army spokesman. We were debriefed by our commanders. We knew what was going to happen with Saddam Hussein, because as allies of the United States, we had to know what we were going to expect from Saddam Hussein, which was missiles. And we were told about the missiles. Anyway, my second trip to the United States as a speaker was in April 1991, and I get a frantic call from a PR woman in Dallas. It says to me, come down to Dallas, Texas, tomorrow. You're speaking before the Council on Foreign Relations. How many people heard the Council on Foreign Relations? I didn't know what it was. And my Christian friend said to me, you better be careful, those people ain't Christians. Their God is mammon, money. And if you get in their way, they'll kill you. I said, oh, you Christians are all paranoid. But you know what they say about Christians? You may be paranoid, that does not mean that they're not out to get you. So I go there, very, very naive. And actually, God has a sense of humor. I got there by mistake. I was a replacement speaker for Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin was contracted to give 4 lectures. He gave 2, he got drunk, he was an alcoholic, they put him on a plane back to Russia. The 3rd night was a washout, the 4th night they needed a speaker. So God in heaven had to make Boris Yeltsin drunk so that the doors would open for Avi Lipkin to come down. And secondly, they got the wrong guy. They thought they were getting the chief of staff of the Israeli army. His name is Amnon Lipkin. A. Lipkin. So they said, so what's it like to be General A. Lipkin? I said, no, I'm Lieutenant A. Lipkin of the Army Spokesman's Office. But you know, for me from Dallas, Amnon, Avi, it's all the same. And I gave them a very military talk. I explained to them about the borders of June 5th, 1967. You've all heard this. You've all heard of UN resolutions 242 and 338 that Israel has to go back to the borders of June 5th, 1967. No, that's not what the UN says. The UN says Israel will hand over land for peace, but Israel will negotiate for new borders which are secure, recognized, and defensible. Is that what the U.S. government has been saying for the last 40 years? No, they say Israel goes back to the borders of June 5th, 67, because that's what the Arabs are telling the Americans to do. And I said to them, you know, after the message, I said, you know, basically what you're saying is that Israel has to go back to June 5th, 67 borders, which Henry Kissinger described as Auschwitz extermination camp borders. We could not defend ourselves with the old borders. And I said to them, we needed to keep the Jordan River as our eastern border, which is the official line of the Israeli government today. We need to keep half the Golan Heights, which we still have today. And praise God, we didn't give it to Syria years ago, because imagine ISIS on the Sea of Galilee. And we gave up Gaza for peace. Did that bring us peace? That's like throwing steaks at a shark when you're at the beach. Is he going to eat the steaks and say, have a good day? Okay, well, whet his appetite. That's the reality we have today in the Middle East. That was my message. I said, we cannot withdraw from those borders. It's suicide. So they said to me, their answer was 2 answers. Firstly, you Jews are all alone. You're going to make peace with the Arabs whether you like it or not. We don't care about UN resolutions 242 and 338. Number 2, okay, and here comes the punchline to my whole message tonight. They said there's only one thing that made America great, and that's the barrel of oil. The steady price of oil, the steady supply of oil, and we're not going to let the Jews get in the way of that. Is that clear? That's what they said to me. Sitting next to me were 2 Christian couples who had gotten me onto, how many people remember Marlon Maddox? They got me onto Marlon Max in November 1990. I've been on that show for 20 years now, 25 years. They got me onto Zoll 11. How many people remember Zoll 11? I did like 20 shows on Zoll 11. And so Eric Gustafson from Cleburne, Texas gets up and looks at these people and says, you call yourselves Christians? You say that what made America great was the barrel of oil? You should be ashamed of yourselves. Because what made America great was not the barrel of oil. What made America great was Jesus Christ. This is a Jew speaking now. And until that night, I want you to know, as a Jew from Israel, as a Jew from New York, I didn't like Jesus Christ. I didn't like churches. I didn't like steeples. I didn't like Christmas trees. You know, now I love it all. As of that night in April 1991, I realized the Jews have one of two choices. Either to go to the gas chambers with the liberals, because the liberals, they'll send us to the gas chambers, or to be with the Christians. If America had a Christian conservative president in World War II and not that socialist Democrat, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, we could have saved maybe 1 or 2 million Jews. If people like you, people like the Tea Parties, people like Ted Cruz, I think also Trump, we could have saved some of the Jews. I know what this president today would do to the Jews. Because my wife picked up in Arabic exactly who he is and what his plans are. And it was then that I took a vow to God in April of 1991 that I would work for a Christian revival in the United States and in every Christian country in the world, because Israel's future is more assured. I have an ulterior motive. Israel's future is assured if this is a Christian America. Are you with me? Amen. And in Israel, we're going to defend our Christians and love them and embrace them, because Christians are the brothers and sisters of the Jews. Amen. The baggage of 2,000 years, okay, we know the history. We can't live in the history. We have to live in the future. Amen. So what I want to do now is talk a little about these people who serve mammon. In the 1930s, the Saudis discovered tremendous amounts of oil. America at that time had oil. America didn't need Saudi oil. When Hitler came to power, there was a strategic problem. You all know the story about Erwin Rommel, the head of the Africa Corps, and that he was going to conquer North Africa and Saudi Arabia so the Nazis would get the Saudi oil. And the Arabs, for your information, the Muslims, were always pro-Nazi. The British, the American allies, Canadians, tried to placate the Arabs so that they wouldn't go over to the Nazis. And this was the deal. The Arabs went to the Nazis and said, kill the Jews who are with you. Then the Arabs went to the Americans, British, and Canadians and said, don't give the Jews visas to escape Nazi Europe. There were 7 million Jews behind Nazi lines. Let them be stuck there so that Hitler will kill them and will be with you. There was a strategic decision that the Jews had to be annihilated. After World War II, there was a communist Cold War. And actually, Joseph Stalin was one of the first people to recognize the Jewish state of Israel, thinking that because the Jewish leadership was socialist and communist at that time, that Israel would be part of the Soviet bloc. But because there were 6 million Jews in America and a lot of money, Israel said, we need the Jews of the West too. We will be neutral in the Cold War. Stalin was furious with Israel, and he decided to support the Arabs. So there were a lot of leadership in Washington, D.C. saying, well, if the Soviets are going to support the Arabs, we've got a problem. We need to support the Arabs. So America tried to be even-handed. You always hear this even-handed stuff. Even-handed means to go against the Jews and be with the Arabs. I don't know how many of you know this or not, but millions and millions of black people have been slaughtered in Africa over the last few decades. They never heard of Abraham Lincoln. Slavery is still the big deal in Africa. And as a matter of fact, President Obama's father is from the Luo tribe in Kenya, and they were slavers.